All right, guys, I have another guest actually for you on my channel this week. This is Mark joining me. Mark is a Sync Academy and Sync Edge member. Now, Mark informed me that he's been having some great results actually using my programs and following along with the tutorials that he has access to with these two platforms. And this includes him creating his first production music library album after 10 years of not even picking up his guitar. So he went from not having really much of a feeling of hope or motivation for, creating a music career to actually picking up that guitar. And not only that, but cranking out licensable tracks and then using Sync Edge to partner with some legitimate music libraries moving forward. And so he's got some great results. I'm going to actually just pass it over to Mark so he can kind of talk to us about his journey. So Mark, why don't we start with where you were as you were kind of, not picking up your guitar for 10 years, where were you mentally in terms of, had you given up almost completely on music, or you just had other things in your life that kind of took the foreground?
Kind of both. When I was younger, I played in, bands in high school and in my early 20s and all that stuff. And of course, at the time you think what you want to be as a rock star or whatever. But I also always enjoyed the home recording side. So I got into that like with an old 4-track cassette recorder, like almost as soon as I got a guitar. So I've been doing some form, and even before that, I was like recording from one tape deck to another tape deck and back and forth and trying to layer tracks, which of course had excellent results. But anyway, so I've always had an interest in the production side. And I played in bands and stuff, but then, over time you have a family, you have real world responsibilities, things like that happen. And just over time, I started picking up the guitar less and less. They got put in their cases. They weren't on the stand or on the wall anymore. And then, just life goes on. I had no real desire anymore. It's not that I, didn't care about music. I've always loved music. I just had gotten away from it. And, before I knew it, I actually did the math and it was like 10 years. I went and dug up some old files. And it was like the last time I actually recorded something was like 10 years ago. And I guess I can't say I had never picked up a guitar. Like I got my daughter a guitar for Christmas a couple of years ago. We played a little bit, but she, kind of lost interest in it. So we didn't really stay. But that was more me playing bass, accompanying her on guitar. So, but I hadn't written new music in like 10 years. So then we did this remodel and I got a new office that I'm currently in. And I thought, you know what, how are we going to decorate this? I want to get my guitars out. Got to put them on the wall. So then I'm thinking about guitars and I'm thinking, you know what? I really enjoyed playing music. I want to get back into playing guitar, making recordings, things like that. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with it? I don't sing. I have no real desire to be on stage, have anybody really know my name. It's not about that stuff. I want to be able to make music, but I also want to be able to share it to somebody, have someone find it useful for something. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I do like a little EP or who knows what, but that didn't sound very good. And then, so I'd been watching these YouTube videos about guitar playing and home recording and things like that. And then one of Justin's videos pops up. It's about sync licensing. And, I had just the tiniest amount of knowledge about what that even was, but certainly had no idea that it was something that was available to a person like me, who is, like I said, just some guy sitting in a chair, whatever, and can actually get their songs on TV, which is, that's awesome. And then, and get paid for it. Now like you mentioned a lot, the time frame, this is a long play. It's not a get rich quick scheme, which I go into that, eyes wide open, but still optimistic. But yeah, so I started off, I joined your mailing list and was getting your videos, and I followed your YouTube channel, and then I decided, this really makes a lot of it seems like the perfect possible fit for what I want to do. I don't want to get locked into one genre. I don't care about my name or being on stage. I don't care about being an artist. I do enjoy being creative, and I would like to have some kind of useful use for my music. This is like the perfect thing, right? I mean, it seems like just the exact perfect opportunity. So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna check out the Sync Academy. And so I looked, and I don't know if I think at the time it was a special, so you could join Sync Edge and Sync Academy as a bundle. So I was, well, sure, I want to get the most information I can. And this, just like anything, you got to spend money. If you want to take your career seriously, sometimes you have to spend some money, which for me, I had to buy some monitors. I just looked at it as another tool, and it's not that much money, guys. for the amount of information that I got. Like Jesse said, I went from having not picked up my guitar. This is the important thing here, and I'm really trying not to brag. This is a testament to the power of how true Jesse's information and content actually is. Not picking up a guitar, not recording, like 10 years, right? And not really knowing that sync licensing was a thing, or that it was something I could participate in, to about 60 days, a little over 2 months. Having completed a 10-track production album, creating a website for my sync licensing, pitching that, and I kind of made some mistakes in the pitch process, which I didn't follow some of Jesse's advice, and we can talk about that, which is how I actually led to me getting 2 offers, which I'm currently fielding right now and trying to decide what the best team is going to be to join, who I can be the most valuable to, and who can be the most valuable to me, because that's important, I think, too. So that wasn't really a nutshell, but that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's awesome. And that's, we were talking about that. That is a very short turnaround to go from being really rusty and not, opening up your DAW in that many years, to going to, okay, I'm going to have clear direction, a clear purpose, a clear focused 60-day process. That's what the Sync 60 challenge was all about. For those of you that have been following me on YouTube for a while, we did that publicly when I first did it, but now we've been doing it exclusively just inside of Sync Academy. And so basically we do it collectively from time to time as a group, but also for any of you that are in Sync Academy, you don't have to wait for us as a group to get started. You can do what Mark did. Mark just found the tutorials and then created his own log in terms of, okay, week 1, I want to have this done, week 2, week 3, all the way through the whole process. And he created his own Sync 60 challenge. That's exactly what I created that for. So Mark, I'm just always encouraged to hear these kind of stories that you guys, none of my services or products or anything that I put out there for you guys does the work for you. Okay. They're just there sitting idly. It's very powerful information. It's very insightful information, but it's only going to get you halfway. You actually really have to do the work. You really have to take advantage of these resources and put them to use in your career. And just like Mark said, in terms of when people go, well, I don't want to pay for this, I just want to do it on my own. It's like, fine, you can do everything 100% on your own in this industry. I certainly did when I first got started. I was making a bunch of mistakes, kind of like, just knuckling my way through the whole thing and just kind of screwing up a lot of stuff, but just basically learning from my errors, essentially. Yeah. But I do want to also point out the fact that when you invest in these kind of resources, it's not an expense. It's not like a cost. It's not like a Starbucks coffee that you drink once, or a drink at the bar that you drink once, you get a little buzz off of it, and then it's gone. This is investing in a future career that can pay dividends and income for you for years and years into the future. And so what I would say for any of you that are really not wanting to invest, and I'm not necessarily just trying to pitch my own stuff, but if you feel that there's some course out there, or there's some information or a plug-in or anything out there that'll help you take your career to the next level, think about, before you go like, well, I don't want to spend any money. How much money are you spending right now consuming culture, right? Cable subscriptions, streaming subscriptions, going to the movies, buying a Coke, buying a coffee. You're consuming or just shopping, right? How much money are you spending every month just consuming culture? And then compare that to how much are you investing in producing culture? Because that's what we are, producers of the culture, because we're creating the music that actually gets licensed out there and gets distributed through the masses. So if you want to be a consumer, that's where you should spend most of your money and time. Just consume. If you want to transition into this other side of it, where Mark is obviously in the beginning stages of, I've been involved in for the last 11 years, you want to be a producer and earn income from your creative efforts, you should be investing. These are not just throwaway expenses. This is actually investing in knowledge and resources for the future of your career. So I definitely wanted to point that out. I think that was very wise of Mark to realize that.
To touch a little bit more on that, I would also point out, yes, it's an investment in producing culture, but I think there's value in there for anyone who wants to take whatever your music interests are. If you're making music, there's stuff in there. You're really investing in your own ability to be successful in various facets of the music industry. The way I see it, like you said, it's not a one-time thing. Like, there's videos in there that I've watched 5 times, and I pick up something different, or I just want to get reminded of something, or I want to rewatch it so I get that boost of. There's like you said, that was a lot to get done in 60 days. And I will say, if I hadn't had all of that stuff that's in Sync Academy and Sync Edge, I'd probably have 2 songs done right now, because I wouldn't have set that goal. I wouldn't have known the direction to go. I wouldn't have had the end point clearly in mind, what I wanted to have done. And I wouldn't have been able to break that down into manageable pieces figure out the time management, which is that's actually one of the whole business section in Sync Academy is excellent. So of course, I mean, the other tutorials are all great, but there's I mean, what is it, like 100? How many videos you have on that thing on Sync Academy? It's like, I mean, it's like,
I don't know the total number, but we are definitely over 120 or 130 hours of
I was
content.
gonna say it's over 100 hours, you know.
Yeah.
And I've watched. There's a couple genre specific ones that I haven't watched, but I've watched almost all of it and some of it multiple times, and I continue to go back and watch it. So if it weren't for all that information, there's no way I'd be. And you know, I'm not a success story at this point. I'm just getting started. But that was my goal for the Sync 60 that I did, was to get this done. And, you know, my goal was to get it done. The goal in my back of the head was actually get accepted before the end of the year. But I had no control over that, really, because I knew this was going to be up at the time of year where people start taking vacations, things kind of stop happening. It's right before Christmas, if you guys are watching this later. So I knew that was going to be a challenge. I was trying to give myself a 2-week window at the end of my Sync 60 to hopefully get an acceptance. And that's kind of why I got a little antsy and ended up reaching out to a second library, which kind of got not in a bind because I was very upfront on. We can talk about that more if you want, but I just know that there's no way I'd be sitting where I am with this cool opportunity to get my music on television and, you know, potentially make money from it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so there you go, guys. There's the story right there. Now, we learn from each other's successes and the failures. So let's talk about some of the mistakes that you said in terms of reaching out to these libraries. We can talk a little bit about that. Obviously, for those of you that are not aware of this, I never require anybody that comes onto my channel to do an interview to divulge the names of the libraries. So first of all, don't ask, don't post it in the comment section, okay? I've discussed this so many times on many previous videos, and I'll maybe link that video in the description box as to why I don't require any members to do that. So please, let's just be professional about that. But I think what we should really take away from this is the learning aspect of this. So let's not make the same mistakes that others have made, and let's also learn from each other's successes. So Mark, what was it about your approach that you feel like you could have done a little bit better?
Okay, so the thing I think that I did right was sorry, I'm kind of drawing a blank. So the thing I did right was actually following the advice of researching the library that you want to partner with. There's a lot, I think, that are out there, and I've researched a lot of them, and it seems like they'll just take whatever. I don't want to be a needle in a haystack. I want to have one that shows an interest in me, that, you know, that I can be of value to. And you always talk about the service mindset. And I want to have that kind of a relationship where they know that if they need something from me, I'm going to provide it. So I'm hoping to get that opportunity to be able to prove that I am that person. But that's why I wanted to have a full 10 tracks. I wanted to say, I've got this, here I am. But I was also looking, you know, through Sync Edge, which is where you do a couple of library reviews every month. I was going through all those to see if there were any that I thought might be a good fit for me. There was one, a couple actually, but there was one that I specifically researched. And then I went so far, I did a little further research on my own and I won't go too far off on a tangent, but this is one I had actually heard of, but didn't realize what they were, because they also have a record label side. So there's an artist that I'm familiar with that I have been a fan from my home state who is with them. But I didn't know about sync licensing, but I had heard of the company. So then I started looking at them. Excellent track record. Have found no one say, I never found anyone say the owner's name in a negative light online. Was able to find some panel discussions online where he spoke, some interviews, written interviews, some videos. And I thought, okay, this is a super busy guy. Like, this is a hard-working guy. This I think, and they had some high-quality stuff and some not so high-quality stuff. So I knew that I really thought my level was, you know, at or above 80% of what their library was in certain like hard rock genres. So I thought I at least had a shot, right? If I could get them to actually listen to my music. So what I did was I took all Jesse's advice, made a very short introductory email with my website that already had my playlist on it, one link, important stuff, you know, basically watch all of Jesse's business videos like 5 times and make sure you actually do that. I did that and I still kind of messed up a little bit. But anyway, so I thought, I fired it off. There it goes. Oh boy, now here goes the waiting game. Am I going to hear back? You know, because some of these success stories that I've seen, I heard back in, 2 hours or 48 hours. So, a couple days go by, a week and a half goes by, nothing. Right. So, what I should have done, but I was afraid to. I was afraid to reach out because I didn't want to be bothersome, because I've actually heard this library owner talk about how it's really hard for them to get through all the submissions that they get. And they do want to hear your music, but it's hard for them to get through everybody. And, they do try to respond to everybody, but it's hard. They're in a hard position. And I get that. So I thought, okay, maybe they haven't heard it. Maybe they just don't like it. And I was actually, kind of doubting myself, thinking they probably just don't like it. So I reached out to another library and didn't hear anything. And then, a couple days after I initially reached out to them, or the other library, the first library got back to me and said, hey, and it was the owner. And he said, sorry for the delay. I listened to all your tracks. I really like the music. Here are a couple of suggestions that I would have to you to make them more useful. And it was really simple stuff. It was just like, the mix here is a little bit muddy. The loudness could be improved a little bit overall. It was nothing about arrangement, none of that stuff. I had tried to follow, all your guidelines as far as making sync music and stuff like that. It was really just about getting the mix, brighter and louder. And I think that's really just kind of these are new monitors. I'm in a new room, new headphones. Everything sounds different to me. I haven't learned the room yet. But he gave me that little tidbit with, no skin in the game from his end. He's just like, here's how you can make your stuff better. So that being his first thing back to me was that's positive. He's not just whatever. He's just like, I think your stuff's good. Here's how it can be better. And also because I'm sure they probably get, this is the second most question they get is, what do your terms look like? And then he's like, this is what our basic terms are. So that email came in right after I fell asleep on a Sunday night. So obviously this guy, like I said, busy guy, right? He's working, he's doing his listening on the weekend on a Sunday night, because he's a workhorse, I guess. So I didn't get it till I did get it. And then so I went back, took one track, made the adjustments that he talked about, posted it in a format that he gave me a specific link to share with, and or a tool to share with. And I did that, sent that back to him because I wanted to show. I got the email, I responded right away. I didn't do it to all 10 tracks, and said, is this more in line with what you're looking for? And then I waited, but at least I answered, and I saw that he had downloaded, because I was able to see that he had downloaded the track. So I knew he saw it. I knew that he knew that I responded quickly. And, but then I waited. And then finally he got back around, turned out he had gone on vacation. This is that time of year, things like that. And he's like, yeah, this is what we're looking for. If you can do the same treatment to the rest of the tracks, we'd be interested in doing it. So around this time, then the other library gets back to me to say, hey, sorry it took so long to get, to listen. And this has been 4 weeks at this point, where the other library reached out. I'd like to take on the entire album. So I was like, man, that sounds great. I got to be straight up though. I hadn't heard from you. I'm in talks with another library. Maybe I should have waited long. I feel bad for, not reaching out and saying, sorry, I'm in talks now with this other library, but I didn't know if you were interested. He was totally cool about it. The owner of that library, which is someone, and totally cool about that. But I was able to say, I'm already working on some more tracks. I had one already posted up separate from that first album. So I'm already working on some more tracks. So I just said, I'm not sure how this first one's going to go. I want to proceed in good faith, do this negotiation, see how it turns out. If not, I'd love to work with you. And I still want to talk to him anyway, because I have some questions about how his library works. And so I sent him a link to the other song that I posted so far, and I'm working on some more. And hopefully we're going to get on the phone next week and talk about it. So even if I can't give him this library, I still think he could have some great opportunities, and I want to learn more about his library. So I wish I had done a little bit better job of being more patient and not communicating, or given someone a link to something that they now potentially can't have, because I don't think that's a good look. But it's not, terrible mistakes. I think as long as you try and be honest with everybody and not try and play them against each other, because I don't want to come off like I'm doing like that. But I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I had just shown more patience in the beginning.
Yeah, and it sounds like it didn't turn out too bad for you, that your second library was very understanding of that. But it's a very good lesson for all of us to learn. So I appreciate you being honest about that. And it's certainly one of the reasons why I've told you guys, if you're not clear about what I recommend you guys do, this will be your final reminder. You guys should know what to do at this point. So you go and find that first library that you feel is the most applicable for your music. You feel you could really serve a need for them. And also you feel your tracks are licensable on par with what they currently are getting placed out there. You submit them an email, and I'd say give them 1 to 2 weeks to respond. If they don't get back to you within that 1 to 2 weeks, 2 weeks being the max, send them one follow-up email and forward the original email, okay? Don't just send them another email and say, hey, look in your email inbox from 2 weeks ago and I sent you this. No, you're making them do homework. Just go back to your original sent email that you send to them and forward it back to them. And just with a little quick note, say, hey guys, I haven't heard back from you yet. I had submitted an album for your review to potentially get accepted by your catalog a week or 2 weeks ago. Wanted to give you one final shot at taking a listen to it before I potentially move on and pitch it to another music library. And that is your final notice essentially to them. After that point, I would give them basically a week. You might want to give them 2 if you want to be generous, but I think a week is really all you need, because 3 weeks, yes, some libraries can get very busy, but I think 3 weeks is plenty of time for any library to be able to, at least for just a second, click on something, especially since you give them a follow-up email to decide if it's something they want to work with you on or not. Then once that process is finished and you don't get anything back from them, or you get obviously a kind of rejection letter, then that's when you move on to your second library, and then you follow the rinse and repeat that process. I understand people don't want to take that time and they want to just send it out to 10 different libraries and just see what happens. So the obvious risk when you do that is obviously it didn't work out that badly for Mark, but he also only did it to 2 libraries, and he did do it at least one at a time. He didn't simultaneously send out to all these different libraries.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you do send it out to multiple libraries at once and you're not patient, let's say you get 5 libraries that all come back to you and go, we love it, let's work with you. Now you have to basically make enemies with 4 of them. So you get one that you get to pick and choose which terms you like, and then for the other 4, you just say, sorry, it was a bait and switch, I don't really have anything for you. There are a lot of libraries in this space, but there's not so many that you could be making enemies on day 1 of your sync licensing career, because now your brand with them has been tarnished. You're looked at as somebody that's kind of opportunistic. You spam a bunch of different people. You're not really targeting to really want to work with any one particular library. And I've always told you guys, you need to be working with at least probably 2, maybe 3 exclusive libraries at one time, so you can A/B compare who's really going to be doing great work for you. So that's why I've always told you guys, patience will pay off in the long run. Being impatient and spamming a whole bunch of people and just seeing who gets back to you usually is not going to land in some great results for you. Right. So if there's any questions, you guys now know that is my recommended plan for how you succeed.
The biggest problem that I had was I was afraid to reach out, because I was so afraid. I had watched the video so many times that these people, you have to be so respectful of their time and things. I was afraid to bother them. I thought I was maybe hurting my chances, or my shot was already gone. I was afraid that if I had any shot left, I was going to ruin it by bothering them. So I got too impatient, fired off to another one. And luckily, like I said, not too bad results, but I wish I had done that differently.
And it happens. And I don't know if maybe you were the one that asked that question in Sync Edge, but somebody did have that question where they were wanting to get ready to submit in early January. And they're like, but I'm just so worried that I'll get rejected and I won't get accepted. And my advice was like, the perfect antidote to fear or not sure if anybody's going to like your music. Because I understand, like, I'm not saying you're not going to feel that way. I still feel that way anytime I reach out to a new company or want to partner with somebody on anything. There's always a chance of like, oh, what if they think I'm a joke? What if they don't like what I'm saying? What if they whatever, right? Or they just ignore me altogether. The best way to get around that is to plan out your maybe 1 to 2 month plan of attack. So have maybe 5 libraries. You have your first one that you really want to go for, but if they say no or don't get back to you, have a second one, a third one, fourth one, fifth one, maybe 3 libraries, maybe it could be all you need. But basically plan it out on a calendar. This day I send the first library. If I don't hear anything by the next Monday or the next week or 2 weeks after that, just have it on the calendar, send a follow-up email. That way you're not sitting there going like, oh my gosh, they hated it. What are they? You're not sitting there with all these thoughts. You're just like, let's just go with the plan. The plan is to give them a couple of weeks. If they don't respond, 1 follow-up email, that's in my plan. I don't have to worry about it. I'm just going to send this out as a polite reminder. You're not being bothersome by giving somebody a reminder email. I would say after that 1 reminder, I wouldn't constantly be every week, hey, did you get it? Did you get it? Yeah. Take the hint if they're not getting back to you after 1 reminder email, just not the right fit, or they're just extremely busy, and that sometimes happens. I had one member who submitted to a library, I think did send a follow-up email, got nothing, and 4 months later finally reached back out to him and just said, hey, we actually, sorry, we were so busy, but we heard your music, we really want to work with you. That would be a situation where they would be totally understanding that that music is no longer there, because 4 months, nobody's sitting around. Don't, you guys, please don't sit around for 4 months waiting. A couple of weeks is pretty much all you should be giving them. So, but Mark, man, I really want to appreciate your honesty, your and just sharing your story about your success here. And obviously you are not there yet, but you are certainly in the door, and you have some opportunities in front of you. And I would say this to you, as I say to everybody who first gets accepted by a library and decides, you know, where you want to go with, is now is it's kind of a crucial time for you, because now you have this is like your chance to sort of solidify that first impression. And you've already done a great job. The fact that you responded to his request and you sent him a mix very quickly. So you're already on a really good path there, but it also starts with you being able to now constantly deliver new content to them, and will always be asking them, what are you working on? What do your clients need? How can I best serve you or make you guys more relevant to the projects that you guys are pitching for? And just to always be that really reliable, hungry producer on their roster, because it's really, you know, first impressions last pretty much the rest of your career with these libraries. So those first couple of months is really the time to, I wouldn't say it's a good time to start dabbling with a bunch of different libraries at this point. It's really to solidify your position with the one that you've really got a foot into, and start to see, you know, how they're going to be doing for your career.
Yeah, that's great. And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. I took 660, planned out every step of the way, getting the project done. And then I did exactly the opposite with my communication plan afterwards. And that didn't even click until it was someone else who asked that yesterday. But but that just makes, I didn't plan out, probably the most important part, aside from actually having the music, is how do you effectively, and that's even after I told everyone, watch these videos 5 times, right? Which I've done, all the business ones. It's, listen, everybody, it's true. So, yeah.
And that got me thinking that maybe I should just put together a very clear, plain tutorial in Sync Academy, which is the library submission process, and just follow. Because I think you're right, because I've said it many times, but maybe just having one place where it's like, just like the Sync 60 thing, where it's like a complete process, and even having like the sort of that calendar map out where you can say like, all right, you fill in the dates of when you want to submit to these libraries, just so it's completely, thought out for you. So you don't have to even think about this kind of stuff or come up with your own plan. It can really all be sort of you plug in your details to this pre-proven sort of strategy. I think that might be something useful for a lot of people. So thanks for the idea. That's a really good thing I should put out there. So thanks again, Mark. And if you guys are interested, curious, not sure whether or not Sync Academy or Sync Edge would be useful for you, you can comment below on this video. I'll be happy to answer any of those questions. Or my favorite is actually when you guys email me, jesse@syncmymusic.com. I love hearing directly from you guys and really understanding where you are in your careers and what you're feeling, because I know that I talk to all different types of producers. You might think, well, Jesse, I've never really used the DAW program. I don't think this could work for me. I had a producer that I uploaded just a couple weeks ago, 63 years old, just started learning how to use a DAW, and he's already got accepted into a library within basically, it was a couple of months of joining my program. So I'm not saying it's easy, but it is definitely possible. So I talk to a lot of producers that are brand new to even making music. I've also talked to a lot of producers that have been producing music for 10, 20, 30 years and have never made a dime with their music just because they don't really have a business plan for how to monetize it. So it doesn't matter where you are in that process or on your career goals or where you are in your career. I do think that sync licensing is one of the smartest, most realistic ways to actually turn your tracks into income. So I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear your questions. So always reach out and don't be shy. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you learned something in this one.